Hey fellow designers, it's Karen of Made by Karen M. Today we're going to be taking an in-depth look at the creation of one of my 2024 custom prom gowns. As you can see, it is covered in a bajillion pearls and rhinestones. It's a corset beaded lace gown. If you'd like to see more details, stay tuned. Okay, so let's get into the inspiration photo that my client presented me with. Original designer is House of Zaire. I try not to completely copy another design, but at the same time, I do want to execute and give my clients as close as possible to the vision that they have for their prom dress. This is my client at the consultation. She was super excited. My client was really particular about wanting a rose gold color fabric, so it took me a while to find the perfect one, and I kind of know it when I see it. This was the best option. So here I am getting ready to get started with cutting everything out. Of course, I'm using my built-in bra corset course, and my first step of these corset dresses is always cutting the side portions of the bra off. Every time I do this, it feels just like a groundbreaking ceremony, like I'm really getting into starting the dress. If you'd like the full in-depth tutorial on how to make a corset, be sure to check out my Etsy store. This is the back pattern piece from my corset course pattern. I've already customized it to her measurements. I'm doing a layer of illusion mesh and then a layer of beaded lace. And as you can see, it's an extended corset, so it goes below the waistline by about 4 inches. This helps give you that extra snatch and extra support in the corset portion. And here's the front piece of the corset. As you can see, it already has the cutouts to guide me on where to place the bra. And the next thing that I'm going to be doing is removing the beads from the edge of the fabric. So what I'm doing is I've pinned the illusion mesh and the beaded mesh together because I'm going to be sewing them together later. But for now, I'm actually placing tape around all of the edges of the fabric so that I can remove the beads with a hammer. Now, fortunately for me this season, I didn't have an issue with any of my beaded fabric ripping or tearing or anything from me using the tape and hammer method. But some people do have issues, so it leads me to believe it just depends on your material. So I would always advise you to just do a test run before you do this tape and hammer method, because the other option is to just take some scissors, like some tiny manicure scissors, and cut all the beads off one by one. As you can see, this fabric has a lot of beads, so I just didn't want to go that route. And fortunately, the tape and hammer method for me did not result in any damaging of my fabric. So what you do is you just take the hammer and beat the beads off all around the edges until you've removed all of them. If you have any left over, then you can remove those with scissors, but this is what the process looks like. I also like the tape method because all these fragments end up on the tape instead of flying into your skin, which can be painful, or ending up on the floor and stepping on them is painful as well. These are the manicure scissors I mentioned earlier. I'm just using these to trim beads from around the boning channels that I'm inserting. So I have this pinned into place and I'm just removing more beads before I go over it with my sewing machine. Fortunately, these beads were really tiny, so they didn't give my machine too much trouble, but I still do prefer to try to trim when I can. So now I'm measuring out my flat steel boning. I get this from Amazon. I'll have the link in the description box. I use these very heavy duty wire cutters to cut it. You're not going to be able to cut it with scissors. I got these wire cutters from Home Depot for under $20. I'm covering the ends of these with boning tips, which I also get from Amazon. You get a pack of like 200 for about $10, I believe. But I put these on the ends of all my boning so that it's not sharp. So let's hop back over to the skirt portion. I actually do all of these steps before I start anything. I prefer to cut out every single piece of fabric before I actually start my project. That way that step is already done and I can focus on other things later. So what I'm doing now is I'm taping together my skirt portion of the corset course pattern. Yes, I love taping my pattern pieces together. I don't know why y'all hate it so much, but it's fun for me. So what I'm doing here is I'm customizing the pattern for my client's measurements. Something that I personally do, I never just use the standard size when it comes to a non-stretch pattern. I always customize it to my client's exact measurements because I want the perfect fit. I hate doing alterations. I want it to fit right from the very first time. So what I'm doing now is I'm just making calculations for how wide to make each of the pieces in the waist, hips, etc. If they have a long torso, I customize the length of the pattern too. I customize everything. If you guys want more information on this step of the process, you could check out my dressmaking primer. And I also have a video for how I customize the skirt pattern. I'll link that in the description box below. Now I'm cutting out my lining pieces. I'm using this rose gold colored spandex. The reason I cut my lining separately from my beaded lace is because the beaded lace kind of has a pattern. So I prefer to have my full symmetrical pieces of lining so I can lay them under the beaded mesh and figure out exactly where I want the pattern to lay on the actual skirt. Now I'm cutting out my beaded lace pieces. As you can see, I'm cutting out the train from knee to floor separately. The fabric is simply just not long enough to cut out an entire skirt portion from waist to floor. That was something that I found challenging this season with adjusting to working with all these different beaded laces. The pattern is only going to be so long. So if your client is really tall, that could pose an issue. You may have to piece some things together. And even if your client is average height, I believe this person was 5'2", but she wanted a long train. So I did have to have a knee seam. Okay, my floor is clean before anybody says anything, but I really just had to like lay this down on the floor so I could see what I have left because it is a pattern. So I can't just cut it any kind of way. Like you can see there's my front train that came out, my back train came out from over there. So this is what I have left. So that over there, that's my godet piece. This over here is the other one. And then I'm gonna have to cut the 3 skirt pieces from there. So I kind of put my skirt like front piece underneath so I could lay this train down and see if it's gonna look right, like placed together. But I think it will. I think it's gonna eat, like the kids say. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. And then and then I'm gonna cut my top skirt pieces from there. And then, dang, I mean, somehow my corset mesh is gonna come from there somehow. This was actually before I cut my corset pieces out, and I did end up going to buy more fabric to be on the safe side. So I'm just including this clip to show you guys my thought process. This is what all the skirt pieces or the train pieces look like after I finished cutting them out. And I kind of just laid it out on the floor to see how close I was to getting a full circle. So I have that front train piece, which was 40 inches. I got the back train piece, which was 60 inches. Fortunately, my client was fine with me cutting the bottom off because the alternative would have been to sew or glue more strips of beading to fill in that empty space in the back. And then I have my 2 godet pieces. So looking at that, I just felt like it was not going to be full enough to get the circle skirt effect that I was going for. I did end up going back to the fabric store, and I think I bought another yard of fabric so I could add 2 more godets or 1 more on each side, and they were pretty small just to give a little bit more roundness and fullness at the bottom. And then I also used some of that new extra fabric to cut out my corset pieces. So this is what the skirt looked like all pinned together with just the pieces that I just showed you guys, and I felt like it was too flat. And this is what it looked like after I unpinned the sides and thought about how it would look if I added 2 more small godets. As you can see, there's a lot more volume. It gives a more circular look. And these are things that you have to critically think about when you're cutting out pattern pieces before you sew things together so that you get the look that your client is going for. Here I am getting ready to attach the bra to the corset. Again, if you guys want full detailed video instructions, this is available in my built-in bra corset course on Etsy. Here I am just inserting some more boning, but this is what the corset looked like after I attached the bra. After that, I covered the bra cups with matching spandex. This was one of the sample pieces of fabric that I had originally bought to show my client. It cost $30 just for a small piece, but it worked out in the end because I ended up using this to cover up the bra cups. After I covered it with spandex, I added this on top of it and then added pearls on top of that. I'm using my wood burning tool right now. I got it at Walmart for about $15, I believe. It's basically a little pin that gets extremely hot, and you use it to cut out fabric by melting away the empty mesh that you don't need. Here's what the bra cups look like after I covered them with spandex, and now I'm just taking my little appliques that I cut out from the other beaded lace I bought, figuring out how to pin it down so that I can hand stitch it into place. Here I am attaching my grommet panels. I experimented with so many different methods of creating and attaching grommet panels for prom season 2024. I'm still deciding on what I want to settle on as my favorite or most efficient method. Here I just made my panels separately, completely separately, and top stitched them to the corset. I do put a very thick interfacing in between if I'm using the heavy duty grommets from Joann, because I just feel like you need some reinforcement to make sure that they are sturdy. The grommet tool that I'm using here is one that I got from Amazon. I don't like the grommets that it came with. It comes with a bunch of thin silver grommets, and they're not ugly. I just feel like they're so thin and flimsy, so I still stuck with using the ones from Joann. This is a video clip that I sent my client during the process because she asked for an update. I do not recommend doing this at all, and next year I will not be sending any video clips, any photos, and let me tell you guys why. I'm going to play the audio in a moment so y'all can hear how I was explaining it to her, but the reason that I don't recommend sending any of these clips is because for me, I found that even though I was making good progress and the dress was coming along the way that it should, I don't feel like sending video clips or photos, etc. give the clients any actual peace of mind. Maybe it gives them the small peace of mind of okay, my dress is being worked on, I'm not getting scammed, but they're still going to be nervous. So to me, it's really pointless because they're still going to be just as nervous and they're still going to be asking you for constant updates, and it's just stressful for everybody. Off the top of your corset so the edges aren't raw, I added the grommets, and then, hold on, Kylie. And then these are the pearls that I got. They look kind of yellowish in the packaging, but once you take them out individually, they match these perfectly. I feel like on the inspiration picture, there are really big pearls on the boobs, but I'm going to kind of play around with it and see what looks the best. But I have a bajillion of them. So I haven't figured out how to incorporate the tool on the back of the skirt yet, but when I get to that part, I'll update you. But yeah, I'll have more to show probably tomorrow. I'm getting ready to attach the skirt to the corset. I have it pinned along the waistline and along the bottom of the corset so that when I get ready to cut it and incorporate that dip from the waistline to the bottom of the corset, everything is in the exact correct place that it's supposed to be. Look at my magic trick though, y'all. Once the dress was fully sewn together, then I started experimenting with adding on the beaded trees from Hobby Lobby and the pearls from Amazon using B7000 glue. The trees I did sew down, but the more I added to this dress, the more I fell in love with it. This is a dress on pickup day before my client arrived, and here is her in the final dress, getting ready to take it home. She was really excited, and I was really happy with the final outcome as well. As with any dress, there was a couple things that I might have done differently if I were to do it over. But overall, I was really satisfied with all the work that I put into it and the finished dress. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.